Thank you, French. Much love and greetings to you all. A happy April Fool's Day for all who celebrate it. It's a rather strange holiday. We play practical jokes or spread hoaxes and partake in fake news. That could be every day now. Anyhow, it's not a holiday anywhere in the world, but it is celebrated everywhere in the world. And it was actually first mentioned in Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales from the 14th century, and it can actually be traced back to the Roman festival of Hilaria, which meant the cheerful ones, and was celebrated on the March equinox. And it's no joke that we entered Passover and Easter season by beginning the driest, most ill-fitting, but thankfully the shortest of the Torah's books, Leviticus, the book of priestly rules and regulations. And it comes right in the middle of the Torah, so there has to be something to it. Maybe the editors were afraid that if they left it to the end, no one would read it. And as we begin it, I hope you all stick with me, and I hope you are all busy creating the path of life that you want. Yes, it is the great do-over. I love a spiritual system that gives you multiple chances in the year to get it right. If at first you don't succeed, try again. It's going to take time. A whole lot of precious time. It's gonna take patience and time to do it, 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 to do it right. Now, I know you're all gonna do it right. There is no wrong. Follow your inspiration. And I am certainly inspired by having had so many of you wanting to participate and sharing your thoughts and sharing this great group of fellow soul searchers coming together every week in this great community House of Spirit, Beth Ruach. So let's come together, and please do go ahead and invite everybody that you know, physically or spiritually, to gather and share from Psalm 133. Hine Matov, come together. Hine Matov, Umanayim, Shem B'tachim, Yachad. Hine Matov, Umanayim, Shem B'tachim, Yachad. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters together. Community, 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 together. And it's very important, friends, that we recognize that we are a community together. We share our ups and downs, our celebrations, our joys, our sorrows, gains, losses, feelings, because it is a safe environment for so doing. Now, don't forget, you have 12 days to imprint your will on the blank canvas of the universe. And if you missed a day or two, or did not know what to do those days, it does not mean you cannot still complete the guide. It's about setting the course of your life so that you can be you, the greatest freedom you will ever find. Now, I remember something the great theologian Soren Kierkegaard, better probably known as a philosopher, perhaps, said. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. We move forward in life, but we look backwards to evaluate it. By seeing the real you, you put in place the steps needed and almost build yourself by seeing the end first. It's like looking backwards, all the while becoming free, becoming you. And keep in mind, we're coming up on Passover. It's less than 2 weeks away, the true festival of freedom. It was once the most important holy day in the calendar, and it's still the most holy day in the Torah. And I'll certainly tell you a little later today why it was supplanted by Yom Kippur. But keep in mind it celebrates the story of your freedom. And your freedom allows you to be you. Now, during this time of the year, I often get asked to go and conduct seders at various places. And sometimes I do go. I've done them for as many as several hundred, and as few as a half a dozen. I've done them for the school I studied at, and for synagogues that have seen better days. Now, I've done ones that lasted several hours and ones that last 30 minutes. And I encourage each and every one of you to observe in some fashion. Whether it's for 30 minutes or for several hours, all that matters is that you understand and appreciate what you are observing. And we'll post a service in advance for people to be able to understand and participate in whatever fashion they choose. It's a time of year when people the world over gather in celebration of the right to be free, the right to restore themselves to health and happiness. So let's all together take a moment to send restorative energy out to everybody as we express gratitude for what we each have and renew spirit energy with and for each other. And take time to be thankful for all the wonders of life, our health, our happiness, our families and friends, the like-minded support and care we get, and the great love that envelops us all. And let us share that goodwill and love with those in need. Send out positive energy to help heal all those in need of healing and help renew those in need of renewal. Remember that sending goodwill, love, peace, and thanks is such an easy thing to do. To transmit energy to everybody you know in need or want. Being free is a time that signals healing. So let's send out healing energy to all who need it. Think of those you know, for them, for the B, for Linda, for Lindsay, for Joni, for Philip, for Wilson, for all of you, for love, for renewal. The kindness, healing wishes, goodwill, the love that you send out circles the world, finding those in need. So thank you, each and every one of you. Misha Beref Avotenu Makor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. Let us say, Amen. Mishmerach, let us all have our spirits renewed the world over. And you get a great chance to renew yourself when you sit down to your Seder in 2 weeks. So please think of it a little bit differently this year. Many find it long and without sufficient meaning or explanation. And if you ask almost anybody to explain it, they'll tell you. You lay out certain food on a plate. You have to eat this horrible stuff, matzah. You recite the story of the Exodus from Egypt. And you read from a book called the Haggadah that begins the story with the words, "We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt." And I'm telling you, friends, pick up any translation you want. They'll all say, "We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt." Now, I love that explanation of what it is. What an oxymoron. We read a book called the Haggadah, which is a word that means to tell. It comes from Exodus 13:8. V'Haggadah l'diber b'yom hahu. And you shall tell your son. You should read nothing. But what if we took to heart the instructions of the sages and translated that phrase from biblical Hebrew into what it really says? We were slaves to the king of limits and confinement. And my friends, the king of limits and confinement is our own individual fear. And that is our Pharaoh, and that is what keeps us from ever being free. If dogs run free, then what must be, must be. And that is all. True love can make a blade of grass stand up straight and tall, in harmony with the cosmic sea. True love needs no company. It can cure the soul, it can make it whole. If dogs run free. If dogs run free. So run free, my friends. Now, I just thought that was one of the most interesting of Bob Dylan's songs in his anthology of songs of freedom. The story of freedom, of the halting, Passover, Pesach, is an oral tradition that in the original has 3 foods, and the foods tell the entire story. And it's about telling your story of freedom. We were told by our sages that in every generation, each person should regard himself as though he personally had been freed from Egypt, freed from constraint. And I encourage all of you to be brave and one day do your Seder without a book. Just use the Seder plate, either the original or the one that we use now, and the entire story unfolds right there, right in front of you. It'll be a very interesting tell. I can't wait to hear back from those of you who decide to do it. Well, so far, we've read 2 books of narrative and of action by God. And now Leviticus is about the words of God, not action. And since actions speak louder than words, you really have to pay attention. We have now reached Vayikra, and he called, known in English as Leviticus. Now, unlike the 2 books before and the 2 books after, there is no movement here whatsoever. Everything takes place in stasis as the final preparations are made for what will be known as the wilderness journey. Leviticus is concerned with orderliness and arrangement. Leviticus pictures the beginning of the solidification, the formation of an identity of a people through law. Now, the laws are not merely listed. They are narrated as words of God to Moses, and so they are presented as an integrated component of the account, woven into the creation of the nation. And the story stops being about Moses. The laws are conveyed through him, but the book is about the laws themselves and the fact of their being revealed to the people. It is about institutions, not individuals. And that's probably why it loses so many people. Now, all activity will be tied to the priesthood, which we are told will be set up through Aaron's family. Now, I got news for you. They probably are the ones who wrote this book. Now, the priest's ritual and ethical activity is tied to sacrifice. And so the narrative's first concern is the new priesthood's first sacrificial offering. But sacrifice cannot be performed in any way that one wishes. One must perform it in a prescribed manner. There is a way to behave in morality, in ethics, in ritual. Leviticus is all about ritual. Now we go through a series of offerings, from burnt offerings to guilt offerings to sin offerings to peace offerings to grain offerings, from sheep to goats to birds to grain. You name it, it is listed. Now don't bother trying to know which is which and when. We do not sacrifice anymore, and we've not for over 2,000 years. The other 2 offshoot religions, Christianity and Islam, never saw sacrifices. And while it seems that there is a wholesale slaughter of herds for what appears to be no reason as you read this, the purpose of sacrifice was actually to recognize that an animal's life was sacred. And we're going to talk a lot more about sacrifice later. Now, most sacrificed animals are eaten by the persons who bring the sacrifice, the animal to the altar. There's also a second group of sacrifices which involve the ritual slaughter of an animal that's not for consumption by the person who brings it. Instead, that meat is either eaten by the priest or is entirely burnt as an offering to God. Now, besides addressing matters of punishment, compensation, execution, the system requires some means of dealing with individuals' feelings of guilt. And that is achieved through the sacrificial system, including sacrifices for unwitting violations, so for accidents. And you will see that the system that provides grounds for guilt also provides a mechanism for expiation and forgiveness. Sacrifice is the only mechanism for forgiveness in the entire book of Leviticus. There is no hint in this book that repentance alone can bring forgiveness for violations of the laws. No indication that one can appeal to God's mercy, his grace, or his kindness for atonement. The words repentance, shub, mercy, rachamim, grace, chen, and kindness, chesed, do not occur anywhere in the book of Leviticus. And sacrifice can only be done by the priests and only at the tabernacle. So over time, in the absence of sacrifice, other means of atonement have therefore risen in importance. Notably, the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, has therefore become the most sacred and widely observed holiday because the ability to sacrifice and deal with, confession and guilt is now gone. in the time of my confession, in the hour of my deepest need, when the pool of tears beneath my feet flood every newborn seed, there's a dying voice within me, reaching out somewhere, toiling in the danger and in the morals of despair. Don't have the inclination to look back on any mistake. Like Cain, I now behold this chain of events that I must break. In the fury of the moment, I can see the Master's hand. In every leaf that trembles, in every grain of sand, confession, atonement, forgiveness. That's the direction that the religion begins to go in. Whereas in the Torah, Passover stands out as the first and foremost of the holidays, the holiday of freedom. But friends, what you must not forget is that freedom is not a then freedom. It's a now freedom, and always freedom. As you read it, you realize that this book does not belong here. It deals with laws that were not yet laws, with the central concern of the book being the conduct of the cult, with the elaborate stipulation of how the sacrificial animals are to be butchered, what parts of them are to be burned on the altar, and how their blood is to be ritually sprinkled on the altar. It is all about ritual. Now, 2 whole tractates of the Talmud, based on Leviticus, would be devoted to the laws of the cult and would remain the object of intensive study. And at least by the later Middle Ages, small Jewish boys were introduced to the Torah not through the great story of creation and the absorbing tales of the patriarchs in Genesis, but through Leviticus. In Rashi's formulation of the academic slogan, "Let the pure ones come and study laws of purity." This is not a book for the casual reader. This is a book for first the priest, then the rabbi. Yes, the world is sacred, and so is everything in it. Express your gratitude, light a candle, make a wish, celebrate your life and the lives of those you love. Share your feelings with them. Live free, be free, honor your freedom. Be well, be happy, be blessed. Share and honor the light, all who live in the light and continue to shine. Continue to send everybody you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone, and end to terror and hatred. Remember, friends, we are a community. We learn together. We celebrate each other. We love each other. We share this ride together, men and women equally. Let us send out love, not fear. Send peace, harmony, good healing to all who need it. And please do learn to forgive and learn to love. Open your hearts. Honor the relationships of your life. Tell those you love that you love them. Take advantage of the time you have. Enjoy the journey. We take the twists and turns and the patterns that weave through the fabric of our lives in our effort to grow, to learn, to be, to love. So please do love. Send healing, goodwill, and love to all who need it. Share your gifts with the world. Now, bless you all. Have a fantastic week. A week of love and light, a week of peace. Work on manifesting your new year, your new life, with all your new opportunities. Honor the people of your life. Honor the journey you are on, and honor yourself. Friends, keep your eyes open to what you may not be seeing, and keep your ears open and listen to the world around you. We set in motion all that happens in our lives, our intentions, our cause, our effects. Everything is linked. As I've said, you always have time to forgive and to be forgiven. You do have that knowledge of what is good and what is bad. So acknowledge what you've done wrong to yourself, to God, and to any person you've wronged, and then ask forgiveness. Do so with sincerity, accountability, and vulnerability. Forgive those who have hurt you as you learn to be forgiving and to be compassionate in life. Do not stop your journey. Do not stop moving towards your promised land. It's in sight. Keep on dreaming, keep on being, keep sharing, keep shining, keep teaching, keep spreading joy and goodwill. Do not follow fear. Follow love. It is always in front of you. And remember to have faith and unwavering adherence to principle, just as I have faith in the principle of love and of all of you. So please act with purity of heart and mind. Despise none, defraud none, hate none, cherish all. Honor every child of God, every creature of the earth. May all people know peace this year, and may you nurture kindness and love everywhere. Work to be present, my friends, in the body. Expand your heart, quiet your mind, because the deepest source of real power lies in consciousness and your ability to be present in all circumstances. Work on your intentions. Continue to believe in the premise of decency, of goodness, of humanity. Turn your dreams into beliefs, your beliefs into reality. Put intent into the new beginnings of the spring of your life. Focus on being free. White bird in a golden cage on a winter's day in the rain. White bird just sits in her cage alone. White bird must fly, or she will die. White bird must fly, or she will die. The sunsets come, sunsets go. Clouds pile high, the air moves slow. The young bird's eyes do always know she must fly. She must fly. She must fly. So that was the White Bird by It's a Beautiful Day. That was the first song I played when I was a disc jockey on FM radio. And it was not on the approved list of music. Give love, my friends. Embrace love, not fear. Forgiveness, not anger. Be there for someone because someone's always there for you, whether you know it or not. Be happy, be healthy, be kind, be loving. I look forward to seeing you all in a few days, when we get together again and start talking about Passover. And I hope you continue to work out your 12-day guide to a new life. Until then, Shabbat Shalom and blessings to you all. Take care.